Dear chess fans, in this video I would like to inform you all about an amazing new world record in chess. And it has been set by a super talent prodigy from Turkey, 12 years old. And his name is Yagiz Kaan Erdogmus. Probably you haven't heard of him yet, but after this video you will never forget him. I'm gonna show you a brilliant attacking game which helped him to break a new all-time high. His current rating is 25.54, but after another super tournament in the Sharjah Masters in United Arab Emirates, his new rating is gonna be 25.69, and that means that is the highest over-the-board rating ever being produced by a player under 13 years old. The old record was set by the legendary Judith Polgar 35 years ago. Now a new top talent from Turkey. His rating 25.69, but we are gonna hear more from him very soon. Well, in this video a game played between him and Mittal Aditya. It's a young Indian grandmaster. Was played in round 7 of the Sharjah Masters, and Erdogmus is playing with the black pieces, so that's why I have shifted the board. And well, you are going to enjoy yourself really a lot, and I'm gonna enjoy it even more if you do hit the subscribe button or give the like, share this video among your friends and tell them about this young prodigy. Thanks for all the support in the last weeks, months, and going back even more. But now I would like to show you the game. Here we go, as the Indian grandmaster Mittal Aditya goes for 1e4, and Erdogmus played the Caro-Kann defense, d4, d5, and it's the advanced variation. And here the move c5 has become very popular, trying to challenge white's center immediately, and white has different ways of handling the situation. You can protect the pawn, you can capture on c5. Well, this all has been investigated a lot in modern times. A lot of dynamical players, they prefer this move over the more traditional classical way of meeting the advanced variation with bishop f5. Anyway, let's check out how this game goes. c5, knight f3, pawn takes d4, queen takes d4, now knight c6, attacking the queen. The queen goes to f4, and here most Caro-Kann players, they will just play here the move e6 with a more French Caro-Kann type of structure, absolutely playable for both sides. But Erdogmus is a super tricky, gifted tactician. He is going to set the board on fire immediately with the move f6. He is challenging the other remaining pawn in the center, so he's hoping that white is at some point going to take. And then you can, for instance, just try to recapture with your knight from g8, which is absolutely fine. White played here the move queen g3, and now move 7. Look at what's going to happen now. Black played here an absolutely insane move, g5, but it is approved by the engines. It's a very interesting idea. What is the idea behind this move? Grabbing space on the king side. So here the queen on g3 doesn't have that many great squares to go to. Also the bishop on c1 doesn't have many options. Well, first bishop b5 is played to pin the knight on c6, and now another stunning idea. Knight from g8 is going to be developed to h6, and the point is to get the knight in to f5 so that the queen on g3 would feel very uncomfortable. Therefore white played here the move knight to d4, preventing, well, at least trying to discourage black from playing that knight to f5, because you're controlling the square with the knight on d4. Also at the same time the knight is putting pressure against the knight on c6. So queen goes to b6 to defend the knight, but also to attack the knight on d4. White protects the knight with the move c3, and now knight f5 is played anyway, attacking the queen on g3, as well as the knight on d4. And white can, for instance, move the queen away, but you can also take with the bishop on c6 with check. And now remarkable move. Look at this. Instead of taking back with the pawn, which is not such a great idea, I want to show you why. If you do that, well, there's knight takes, knight, bishop takes, you take on f6. And if black does recapture, there is this move queen to f3, attacking the bishop on f5 as well as indirectly this pawn on f6. So here black does have a serious problem, but let's take it back. Instead of taking back with the pawn, there is the move queen takes bishop. The point is that if you take the queen on c6, then black is going to take on g3. And if queens are coming off the board, well, then black is relieved. Black is having a great time when in a queenless middle game, having good chances to take over control in the center. So instead, white, rather than taking the queen, captures on f5, bishop takes f5. And here white decides to castle kingside. Very logical move, of course, but now this is the moment where Erdogmus stands up. He smells blood. He seizes the initiative with another incredible idea. Rather than just completing your development, that's what you would expect. Yeah, the king is still in the center and also the bishop on its initial square as well as the two rooks. But here, black goes for the move h5. Very nice idea, trying to prove that the queen on g3 is in trouble. Let's see how this works out. White captures on f6. Now after e takes f6, the e file is open and white can of course try to attack the king on e8, but well, in that case the king can always hide on f7, and with ideas like h4 and bishop d6 coming very soon, black is very fast in building up the initiative against white's kingside, and in particular the queen. And don't forget that white also still needs a number of moves to get all its pieces involved. Well, in the game, white didn't want to wait, didn't continue developing here, and wanted to prevent black from carrying out that pawn move h4. So white played h4 here himself, and various options, but you don't have to fear such a move like h4. White never really wants to take on g5 and open up the files towards the white king. That's asking for trouble. Even castling queenside and just continue your development makes a lot of sense. But the way Erdogmus is playing is also very instructive. He just captures the pawn on h4, because after queen takes h4, now he's castling queenside. And well, white gets the bishop into the game, but maybe e3 is a bit of an unfortunate choice. The bishop doesn't do much there, and well, the idea black is going for is now to use the g file with the rook. The rook is fantastically placed here, targeting the pawn on g2, and very soon other pieces will join the party as well. So what should white do? It's difficult to say. In the game, Aditya played here the move bishop d4, attacking the pawn on f6. But interestingly, black totally ignores it by developing his last piece. The bishop comes out to d6. That's a great move, and the pawn cannot be taken. White didn't capture the pawn, but let's check it out. If you take with the queen, there is bishop h3, and the g pawn is pinned. Therefore, white cannot capture the bishop, and also the rook on f1 will be hanging. While if you do take with the bishop on f6, well, there's just rook df8. And this is a type of position you're not even going to think. You just believe and trust the skills of your pieces. They're all looking fantastically in the direction of the white king. So white didn't want to take that pawn at all. Played here the move knight to d2. And here it's about to further increase the tension on the king side. So black went for the move rook g6, protecting the pawn. Not really that it's important, but his main idea is that the other rook will come over very soon. White played the move f4 so that the bishop is not putting too much pressure on this diagonal, but also after rook d8 to g8, attacking the pawn on g2 with both rooks. White is now able to defend with the rook from the side, defending the pawn. Look at this now. White is looks as if he's holding here, but Erdogmus comes up with a new plan to increase the pressure. Queen d7, excellent idea, because the queen was black's worst placed piece, and now it's ready to join the action on the king side. For instance, a move like queen g7 is an idea. So therefore, white captures on f6. It's not just capturing a pawn, but white really wants to place the bishop on g5, so that it takes away the pressure exerted by black's rooks. But black is really fast, as here, rook to g4, attacking the queen. Queen takes pawn on h5, and there is bishop takes f4. Great move, as the threat is to play here bishop e3 with a pin against the rook on f2. Bishop to d4, the bishop comes back, is no longer able to interfere on the g file, and here it prevents the black bishop from getting to e3. So black has to find a different way, but that's something you can let Erdogmus do. He is looking for new tactical opportunities. So he's dropping back with the rook from g4 to g5 to attack the queen, and the queen is in trouble. Where should the queen go to? Well, you don't want to go to h6, for instance. There is rook takes g2 with check, and the queen will be hanging, so that doesn't work. And if you go back to h4, there's bishop to g3, so that's another tactical problem for white. Instead, Aditya played here the move queen e2. The queen is now defending on the second rank. Bishop h3, another piece joining the action against the pawn on g2. And there's not much white can do against it. If you, for instance, take on f4, there will be rook takes g2 with check, and black is winning the queen. So instead, knight f1 was played. Now look at this, guys. Things are heating up. Bishop takes g2, rook takes g2. And also here, you can absolutely go for the material, but you don't want to take on g2. If you do that, then at least white is still getting a knight and a rook. And, well, maybe there are some small drawing chances here. Anyway, this is a sign that we have to deal with a super gifted player. He's not looking for the material, this 12-year-old kid. He wants to play for mate and nothing less. Rather than taking on g2, the queen comes in to h3, so that rook takes g2 is now even a much stronger threat. And how to support that rook? It's absolutely impossible. If you defend the rook with your knight, knight to e3, it is bishop takes e3, bishop takes, rook takes g2, and it's going to be made in a few moves. So that is not going to help white at all. White instead played here rook takes g5, rook takes g5, check, king goes to f2, and now another very nice move, queen h4 check, backward queen move, but preventing the king from escaping to e1. For instance, now if you go king f3, which was not played, there is rook to g3, which is a killer move, because knight takes g3 is queen takes g3 with checkmate. And if the king instead goes back to f2, it's rook e3, discover check. And after the king goes away, now you take the queen, and it's going to be made very, very soon. So instead of king to f3, knight to g3 was played. And look at this, bishop takes g3 is a very cute move. You would maybe have expected another capture with the queen or with the rook, but this is incredibly strong, because where should the king go? If the king goes to f3, it's queen f4. Was not played in the game, this move king f3. You will see why, because if king goes to g2, it's bishop to e1. And here black is controlling both the f and g file. If king h1, it's queen h4. It's almost made. Queen h2, queen e4. And the only move here is queen g2. But then you take on g2 with mate. So this was of course seen by both players. Instead, after bishop takes g3, white played the move king to e3. Bishop goes back to f4. Excellent move. If king f3, it is checkmate on g3. So that was not played. Instead, king to d3. But now it is another backward queen move. Queen h7 with check. The king can't go anywhere. All the squares have been covered by the bishop, queen, and pawn on d5. So this is the moment Mittal Aditya resigned here because of the move queen e4, queen takes e4, it is checkmate. So black managed to win in 32 moves, and that helped Erdogmus to set this new world record. Very, very impressive stuff. And who knows, how far can this kid come? I think he has a very bright future. Well, that's of course easy to say when you set a new world record. But stay tuned for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he at some point will break into the top 10, maybe even further. But of course, there are some other hurdles to take. It's not going to be simple. And at the very top, the differences between these elite players, it's very small. So difficult to say how good he exactly is. But this really shows some very good skills. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this game? And of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for doing that. And stay tuned for more action on this channel. Thank you. Bye bye.